Hi guys, welcome back to Peaks 47 and welcome to part 1 of Crash Corner. So thanks to Silky Track for leaving a comment describing this mini series that I'm about to start as Crash Corner. I thought I'm going to take that. That's just a really good title for it. Not sure how many episodes will be in this series, but we'll just see how we get on. So once you've watched this, we're going to go over and have a look in the corner, and we're going to have a look at the really basic early start of the plans for what we've got coming up. Right, so this is the corner I've got to play with. So we've got the girder bridge behind you now as you're looking at it, and then to the right we've got Whittington Dale. I was hoping I'd have a little bit more room here than I have. I wanted to build up the limestone like I described on the previous video with the Hornby magazine. So I want the limestone sort of along here and then the crash site before the track, but I don't think I've got the room for this. So what I'm actually going to do, you still have the limestone where I want it, almost following this brown line here. I'm going to build it up to perhaps this height. This is what I'm planning at the minute. And then I've just got the half a fuselage and just a couple of the bottoms of the wings just to see what the wingspan's like. Now I do intend on having this quite destroyed, so the wings probably won't be in this shape, but because I haven't got much room where I plan to have the crash here, I'm going to have it as if it hit the rocks and smashed up and landed all over the tracks and all in this sort of area, or perhaps just a little bit further back, as if it's perhaps made impact here, broken up and sort of landed here. That way then I can leave some debris sort of down here in this area, so the rocks will finish here, so we can have some evidence of, I don't know, sort of it in the ground, tail sticking out or whatever. I can then leave some tiny bits of rubbish once I've ballasted in between the tracks, you know, some of the running gear and some of the bits, some of the landing gear, some bits like that along here. And then I can also have some evidence of the crash over here, so just some mangled bits up, so whatever really I can find that I perhaps wouldn't use. So yeah, mainly sort of like the landing gear, maybe, you know, a couple of the seats and bits and bobs I can have sort of sat round here. The tail wheel could be sort of somewhere up here. Half the wing will certainly, I'm going to have to break the wing up and have that in bits here. The rear wings, apologies, can't remember what they're called now. The elevators, I think the correct word is for them. I can have a bit of an elevator over here and another elevator over here. So actually the crash site won't be on just this side of the track. It's actually going to be this whole area that I'm working on. So I need to start the limestone first. That's what I'm going to do first of all, is just start cutting up the Celotex and getting an idea of where I want it. I may actually draw a piece of cardboard template on here, and I might actually build this on the bench rather than in situ, just so I'm not leaning over some of the scenery that I've already done. Then I can build and then sort of deconstruct the model and obviously put that in place once the Scenics are built up. So there's quite a lot to do here. I think we might going to get some limestone, lumps of limestone here, some rock fall and whatnot, and then this will sort of like be last. So this will certainly be later on in the series when I'm actually building the model. So I'm going to move on now then, start cutting some bits up and see how we get on. So this is one of the pictures I'm going to use as a guide. As you can see, the vertical lines in the limestone, so that's why I'm going to use the Celotex in vertical positions, and hopefully the natural break in the Celotex will give me the guide of where these vertical lines are. They're quite subtle, but you can certainly see them. And this is this embankment that's coming up from the railway. I'm going to try and achieve this as well before the upright of the limestone, and then more scenery on top. It's going to be tight in this corner, so I might have to have this as a lot shorter embankment. But what I want is, imagine when the aircraft crashed, it came from this direction and it ended up nosediving somewhere here, and possibly its starboard wing caught this limestone as it crash landed. So then I'm trying to picture, as the wing caught it, perhaps would have spanned the fuselage round sort of in a clockwise direction, so the fuselage would have finished off in this direction with most of the port wing possibly intact here, the starboard wing smashed up into pieces over in this direction, and then a field of debris sort of flung over the tracks past this, where this 4F is now, you know, and they have some wheels and bits and bobs sort of all knocking around here. So that's what I'm going to try and replicate. This, I'm going to use some lichen maybe for these bushes, static grass here, like I say, the Salatex for this area. It's not going to look exactly the same, I'm sure of that, but I can use that as a good guide. So yeah, I'm going to start with my Salatex now and see if I can just replicate some big chunks that are almost square, more of a rectangle. This is what I want to replicate first, and then worry about putting plaster Paris on, plaster filler, bits and bobs, just to blend it all in. So that's the sort of height I'm probably going to be playing at, and probably that distance back. So here I can put the embankment coming up from the railway, give me enough room for the fuselage like I was showing on the picture. Debris over here. I might still have the little platform bits and bobs over here. I'm not sure what I'm doing. This is probably going to be sort of like afterwards. So what I'm going to do now is slice this sort of, say, 1, 2, 3, so into 4 pieces. So this will give me 8 good chunks of limestone. I'll probably drop the limestone off down here so it's a bit shorter. Same here, and it's going to cover this join that you can see just on the left of the camera now. It's going to cover that join quite nicely. So I'm going to get these cut up and then I'll be back. So I've got the Salatex lined up on the bench now, and then with just an old kitchen knife. First of all, I'm slicing down the edges so they're not as true and they look a bit more natural. Certainly no skill to it. I'm just putting a 45 on it, deeper cuts, just to mess it up a little bit, and then just with the tip of the knife, just taking some chunks out of it, and putting some fault lines in it as well, and again angling the knife one way and angling the knife the other way just opens it up a little bit. Once I've done that for a bit, I'm then using a wire brush and scraping that across the Salatex, and that really starts roughing it up. There we go, and I'm hoping, and I've got some paint on that, that might look quite convincing as blocks of limestone. So I'm going to have a little bit of a play with what colours I think is going to suit best for this limestone. I'm definitely going to start with a magnolia emulsion as a ground coat. So I'm going to coat this up, put the hairdryer on it for a couple of minutes, if that, won't even be a couple of minutes to dry, and then going to try some different colours and try maybe some washes over some matte lacquer. Or I think what I'm probably going to do is more than likely is going to use a dry brush method and use some different browns, maybe even some greys as well, or some really sort of like light coats of black on it. So I'm just going to put this on these two test pieces, and then I can have a little bit of a play, see which method I think is going to suit best. So I've been having a play with some colours before I go any further, and I've been using magnolia at the minute, and then sort of dry brushing some browns over the top, and I just don't think the magnolia is right to begin with on that. So what I've come up with is I've used a mid-grey and lots of magnolia to give me this colour grey, which I'm quite pleased with. I think the colour is going where I want it. I feel like these lines probably look a little bit unnatural still at the moment. These perhaps are acceptable. This one that's dead straight and vertical, it's just it just looks too man-made. What I'm going to do to try and improve this, I'm going to use the trusted concrete dust from WWS, and we're going to try and highlight some of these cracks a little bit by just putting the concrete dust in them, and maybe it's just some streaks down below it. And I feel like I may have the technique I've been looking for. So I'm quite pleased with that, and that's probably what I'm going to be going for. I just need to work out what I'm going to do with these streaks. I'm wondering if they perhaps look better without it, or I need more of them. So I'm going to have a little bit of a think for the next video. Hopefully the next video I'll have everything cut and painted up on the workbench, and it'll be a case of just gluing them down before I move on to introducing some Scenics to it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry there hasn't been much modelling in this episode, but this has sort of been priming for the next episode, where I'll be really sort of concentrating on getting all this stuff down and really cracking on with the Scenics.